So recommendation systems typically it is based on certain features. Features being certain properties, certain attributes, be it of the customer, be it of the order, be it of the product. So you have to ensure that all that is identified well ahead of time when you're building the recommendation system. So when you're trying to recommend a specific product for a customer once they've made a purchase or even before they've made a purchase directly on the site if it's a logged in user, you need to know what should be the logic for surfacing that particular product or a set of products in that particular carousel or even after the purchase. So that logic has to be solid. What features you are doing it on, ensure that all those features have values in them. If not, you're actually, extrapolating it with some other value, which is common across the board. So ensuring a very sound ML modeling capability on that particular recommendation engine that you have in place for any specific carousel and ensure that it is tested properly and you also have like A/B testing with the users to get some feedback.
Welcome to Podcast Wise Perspectives, Business and Tech. Joining us today to deconstruct the blueprint for scalable technical strategy is Monisha Shah. Monisha is a veteran engineering executive with over 20 years of experience driving large-scale digital experiences, e-commerce architectures, and secure cloud initiatives across global retail and financial organizations. As an authority on organizational strategy, she has successfully helmed critical transformations, from large-scale microservices migrations to the deliberate deployment of enterprise AI. In this episode, we explore the tactical shifts required to transition from technical execution to high-level organizational leadership. We unpack the silent failures of major architectural overhauls, the reality of surge-proof infrastructure, and how to build high-performing cross-functional cultures that directly move bottom-line business outcomes. Let's get started. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
Hey, Monisha, how are you?
Ethan, I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you for asking. All right, I'm going to jump right in. So, you've navigated massive technical transformation in both fast-paced commercial retail and highly regulated banking environments. If you had to pick one fundamental truth about engineering leadership that applies to both, what would it be?
So a fundamental truth about engineering leadership, I guess technical challenges are the same. Banking goes a little slow just because you have to get the requisite approvals, and retail, on the other hand, is always on the bleeding and cutting edge of technology.
Mhm.
But comprehending what it takes to get to the other side of the finish line and driving that while building a strong team is crucial. And that's same no matter what the domain is, whether it's financial domain or retail domain.
Mhm.
Having said that, banking is heavily on security, so you have to be very compliant with everything that you have to do there with those applications. Not that retail is not. On the retail side, also there is zero trust that's being implemented. So it's essentially the leadership skills along with the drive to learn and apply the engineering skills. No matter what it is in both domains, it's pretty much the same.
Okay. Okay. So, over your 20 years of journey from hands-on engineer to director of engineering, what is the most critical mind shift a technical leader must make when transitioning from writing code to driving organizational strategy?
So, writing code, yes, that gives you the initial insights on how things work. But as a leader, you should be uh, grooming and also training your team to deliver, right? So you are only as effective as your team when you're a leader. So
Mhm.
it's very essential to find the right potential in the right people and ensure that they grow and you kind of groom them towards that so you can hand things off and also at the same time build an accountability mechanism so that they come back with the results that you want in the time frame that you want. It's not like letting go but kind of going back and checking periodically, but at the same time letting them take the decision and you being confident enough so that they can deliver, right? So for that you kind of have to groom them. That's critical. um, So that's a key transformation as you move into the leadership role. People generally don't tend to let go. They still want to delve deep in, micromanage. So
Mhm.
those are certain things that you have to step away from, because see, today you have a 30-member team. Tomorrow it might be a 100-member team. So how are you going to do that if you're going to micromanage? That's the mindset you have to inculcate. At the same time, you have to grow the next set of leaders as well.
Right.
So that's the key. So yeah, again, it's grooming, finding the right people to groom, as well as finding out the potential, ensuring that they also are meeting, like proceeding towards their end goal as a individual contributor, as a tech lead, as a manager, whatever it might be. So that you have to always keep in mind as a leader.
Yeah. And being able to trust them.
Yes,
Right.
absolutely.
Yeah. So I think the fact of people wanting to micromanage is it's two things, is either they don't trust that person, or they want control. Is it the
That's
need of
right.
control, right?
Yeah.
I,
They want to be in control at times. And trust is one part. Trust is, as you groom, you kind of build that trust as well, right? Because you're grooming the person, you're letting them know which direction to proceed, and you're also giving directions at regular points of time as they are developing. And so that kind of builds as they keep delivering. But the other part is people don't want to let go. That's a crucial thing that I've seen. They
yeah.
feel they lose the hold if they let go of the code, and that's not the mindset to be in as you grow.
Hmm.
uh, Today it is AI, tomorrow it's something else. It was always like that. It was apps, iOS, Android apps, then we moved to cloud, then now AI. So it's always going to be there, something new. But the capability to actually groom and build the team and have confidence that they will deliver is the key that a leader should have.
Yeah. So cross-functional alignment is notoriously difficult at the enterprise level. What is your framework for building unshakable trust between engineering teams and non-technical business stakeholders?
So with business stakeholders, I tend to meet with them on a regular basis to find out, where we are heading and if we are aligned with what they have in mind as to
Mm,
what the North Star is or as to where we need to reach. That is key, where you have to build that rapport so that they kind of trust you when it's crunch time, right? When you have to deliver something within a very short time frame, they kind of trust that, yeah, they will get it done, or at least they'll communicate the timeline on when this can be done, things like that. So that is key, and getting cross-functional alignment even amongst engineering teams for that matter, and coming back always and projecting what the timeline is. That is also very important, especially when dealing with business leaders. So cross-functional teams could be varied teams that you're dealing with, and they also have tasks on their plate. So if you want certain tasks to be done so that you deliver the specific project or specific need to the business leaders on the site or the app or whatever it might be, it's essential to get that cross-functional alignment as well. And that also is based on rapport, right? You do something for them when they ask you, and you kind of meet that timeline. So you also build that rapport. So when you do something for them, they automatically have that, the feeling that they have to, help you out in this time. So
mhm.
those are key. Give and take is the key, and giving more than what you can take, and that always helps in the long run.
Yeah. Yeah. It's uh, people like to receive, right? They like to receive stuff.
Yeah.
So
And it
when you
could be
are able
varied
to,
forms.
yeah, and when you give to somebody, they're like, oh, so now I feel obligated to give back.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. Exactly.
So now everyone is chasing AI, right?
Hmm.
But a few are doing it efficiently.
Okay.
From a director's perspective, what excites you most about AI adoption in engineering organizations today, and where should executive avoid the hype?
So I'll talk about the immediate short term, where I'm seeing the benefit in. It's basically the repetitive tasks that I'm seeing the benefit in. Those can definitely be automated, and I've done that across a couple projects,
Mhm.
where you can get concrete results, right? It's when you're solving those probabilistic problems where you have to be within a certain threshold. That's where I'm seeing a gap. But having said that, in terms of coding itself, like with Claude or even anti-gravity, whatever you may be using. Now they have a way for you to define, like a Markdown file to define where you want the agents to head, how they should be coding, what you expect the end result to be, and how you can control the context that you're giving them, which is the key. Context is, let's say you want to them to go from point A to point B, but you have to navigate it, and all that is through text. So you can actually write that down as step 1, 2, 3, and if you see this is what. So those are things where I'm definitely seeing a severe efficiency improvement,
Yes.
where people can create document, people can create architecture diagrams, and even go from there and give it to modify the current code, create test cases from that. So that part, definitely there's a strong execution efficiency improvement. But again, it depends on how you're implementing it. It's not one size fits all.
Yeah.
So let's say the team is working on certain piece of the functionality. For that, yes, the team can develop a skill and ensure it works seamlessly. And any of those changes coming in, again, repetitive nature of the job, that can be done. And that's where I'm seeing the maximum improvement. Other places that I've seen improvements on are when you're trying to find the when you're trying to enhance the content on the websites, on the applications,
Mm.
or when you're trying to translate the content on the sites or the application into varied languages that you want to render your site in. That's where I'm seeing like it's definitely something that's helping and giving you the concrete results that you want. Of course, a human in the loop is not going away because there are other legal requirements that come into the picture. So you definitely want the human to review the translated content, ensure that it's right, and then go from
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, because there's like different, when you say one word in English, it might be three different ways that you can say it in a different language, right? And then are you using the correct term? That,
Yes.
and then if you use the wrong term and then that person that speaks that language sees it, they're like, ooh.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly.
Yeah, that's
Exactly.
always scary. So it's good that having the human in a loop to verify if
Hmm.
it's the right term is good, because otherwise, personally, I would feel offended if it was using the wrong term.
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, that's one thing where I'm definitely seeing, severe productivity gains. Earlier, we would have to send the content to the translation vendor. The vendor would revert back and through webhooks, and then populating the content and so on. So it
Yeah,
was like a day's turnover, right? Compared to what we are seeing now, where it's within seconds or within minutes, and then we just need one human in the loop to validate, verify, and maybe correct it, and then go from there.
yeah,
So yeah.
that's good. So what do you see as like something that you're like, no, that's not a good idea to have AI included in this whole situation?
So, any new changes, any new enhancements, any new places, anything that we are trying to remove functionality from, those are all great potential areas to apply AI. But you have a huge app or the service, and you're trying to modify one section of it, like real deep down, you're trying to add functionality there. That's where I see challenges,
Hmm.
where it can come up with a lot of ways of doing the same thing, and you have to kind of pick which one, and no single one of them may be right, because it's trying to gather that information from the context that you provide, from all the files that you're providing, from all the architecture and it may not be accurate as to what it's deciphering, right, the AI agent. So that's where I see issues right now. If it's a task where you're saying change the business logic, if um, if let's say the in a financial application, if the notes are if they have like a stain on them, and you don't want them to go through the cycle again, and you also have and the denomination of that is below 100, and then you want it destroyed or something like that. The complicated business logic is where I'm seeing some there are it's not accurate as it should be. So that's where I see that we have to have intervene in between. So the more complicated the tasks go,
Yeah,
humans are definitely needed. It's not going away. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I can see that, because like if you have a complicated business case, for the code, it would need the human interaction. Yeah,
Yeah.
I can see that. Because like if you want to delete something, but it is in different modules
Yes.
also, right? You have to have the know-how to know that it is in those different modules to to delete. Otherwise, you'll have remnants of that code because it's in all of those codes, in all
Correct.
those modules. Um, so you've steered massive microservices and GraphQL's transformation. What are the silent killers or pitfalls that enterprise tech leaders overlook during these major architectural shifts?
So when you're moving or when you're architecting these microservices from a huge application that you had just because you can scale them and also go the graph route where you're actually onboarding to graph and query any field that you have. It may be from varied microservices too. So you have to kind of think through the design. That is crucial. Besides the design, all the requirements, like if you have an app which is like 14, 15-year old and you're trying to bring in all the requirements, we have to keep in mind that there will be certain gaps, right? It may be something that the product is missing. It may be something that engineering has overlooked. And as you bring that up, that there should always be some, I'm not saying that we should delay the delivery, but there should be some padding involved to ensure that accuracy also is factored in.
Mm,
And as we go along, we have to be prepared for some of the things that we uncover as a part of the whole process. It may be something new, which may be delaying your timeline by 2 weeks or 4 weeks, whatever it might be. So those things you should always keep in mind. And other than that, very concrete design and ensuring as we head into it as to what the expectation should be in terms of delivery and setting that across the board so that the business is also aware that this is what we will likely deliver at the end of these 8 weeks. And
mhm,
and these features may not be there. Are you okay with it? Kind of getting a buy-in beforehand and then proceeding from there. A lot of times when we onboard services, when we design services in a certain way, onboarding to graph will be a different kind of requirement by itself, where you have to
mm,
kind of see that these are the fees that probably need to be onboarded. Maybe we don't need all this stuff. So those kind of weighing in and ensuring that at the same time we are not really bloating up the payload, right? And it's all it and it's a and it's it can be leveraged and used across varied applications, be it the stores application, be it like the POS system, and also the website and the apps. So those are things that we have to always keep in mind. Where are we integrating with it?
mhm,
What is expected? And also keeping a little bit of a buffer to add anything that we may have missed. A delivery that is sooner than the expected timeline is always great, but if you try to give them a subpar product, then that really hurts, not just the team, but
trust.
yeah, across the
Mhm.
board, varied integrations as well. So yeah, those are some things I'll keep in mind always.
So high traffic spikes and peak business seasons test the limits of any systems.
Yeah.
So how do you design an engineering culture, not just the tech, but the team, to ensure flawless scalability and zero downtime under pressure?
Every site has certain peak times that you expect certain amount of traffic, and you do have those metrics. You do have how many users were on the site, let's say for Christmas, let's say for Thanksgiving, let's say for Black Friday. Then what you do is you take those numbers, bump them up by from year to year. How much traffic have you seen increase, right? If it's 110% increase, bump it up to 130. Ensure that each of the services that you're enhancing to meet that traffic is tested under that load
Mm,
of that 120% increment. So it could be 6,000 users at any point in time on the site doing the same functionality. Ensure that your site scales to that, more than that, actually. I'm going like 130% or like 30% more
mm,
than what it was previous year. So ensure that that is carried out and done at every service level as it is improved. Then on this at the site level itself with that load, you can actually test it. And multiple tests can be done to see at what point it breaks down when you don't get the response back. And you see how
oh,
those numbers map to the number of users on the site at that point in time. It should always be enhanced to deliver at a very large scale compared to what it was the previous year. So it's the your baseline is always the traffic or whatever the orders per second were or orders per minute were last year as opposed to this year, and bump that up to like over 100% of that and see how that goes. And then ensure that every other system that we are dependent on, because it's just not one system. There could be an order management system which is external to you. There could be a category management system. Ensure that all those systems also scale to that load. So you have to kind of communicate with them and let them know this is the load we are expecting. Ensure that it scales to that. So they have their infra and everything else also, scaled appropriately to handle the load.
Yeah. So do you guys think about like major drops? So like if a product that comes and that you guys are expecting a
Hmm.
big influx of traffic, like let's say that a new product line comes out and it's from a popular collaboration, right?
Yeah.
Like, do you guys have that communication internally? Like, okay, maybe we should increase the load during this time because we know that, it's going to be a popular drop and it might crash the site.
Yeah, so it could be a product, it could be a complete brand with a set of products, right? Any of those. So as and when that happens, and when there's a launch of the product, there is a certain expectation that is being set, and business comes up with based on the analytics data on what the metrics would be and how much load they're expecting. At that point in time, at every stage, no matter whether it's a new product or new brand, or even if there's a new enhancement to any of the services, there is performance tests happening going all along. Like every so there is a cadence to delivery to production. Based on that cadence, you always ensure that you have the perf test results before that and ensure it lines up with the expectations.
Mhm.
And appropriate tweaking or appropriate changing of configuration happens to scale to that load. So that's done as a part of every single cycle that we go through when we deliver things to production.
Okay. So now you've led critical fintech integration that directly moved the needle on average order value. What
Mhm.
did that teach you about translating complex engineering decisions into measurable bottom line business outcome?
So it's all about, in the end, it's all about increasing the revenue, increasing the average order value, or customer engagement. So
Mm,
it's all about metrics. So you're driven totally by the metrics and also how the business foresees the solutioning to work. So
mm,
you have that collaborative pipeline built in where you're getting that feedback constantly, and also ensuring what the average. So there are metrics collected on every click of of the site, or other wherever there is interaction with the customers. There are certain metrics being collected. Ensure that the reporting on that is set up, and you kind of follow up on that reporting and see how that's working, and also if it's actually driving the average order value, and how much is it driving the average order value by. So those are things that come out of the reporting metrics that you collect, and you keep an eye out on that. And always, I mean, there are certain baseline that you always have to keep in mind: customer engagement, average order value, how many transactions per minute you are going through, and if the orders are all flowing through to the systems downstream perfectly and everything is working right. So all that you have to kind of always keep in mind. Kind of, there are reports built in already, inbuilt reports, right? Because this is happening for quite some time now, since we have retail e-commerce in retail,
mhm.
for a long time. So ensure that all that lines up well with every specific release, with every specific launch that you have, and it's heading in the right direction. Otherwise, you pivot and you kind of come and discuss again, bring things to the table, bring everybody on board there, and then essentially discuss why things are not moving the direction it should, what's happening, and where do you think? So we have to involve the relevant stakeholders at that point in time, be it internal or external, and come up with a potential solutioning and try to push whatever changes we have to. In the timeline that we have, it could be a short timeline. Sometimes the runway can be a little longer. But yeah.
Okay. Okay. So now delivering real time, personalized customer experience requires massive data maturity.
Mhm.
Um, how do you approach building recommendation systems that drive genuine customer value without sacrificing system performance?
So recommendation systems typically it is based on certain features. Features being certain properties, certain attributes, be it of the customer, be it of the order, be it of the product. So you have to ensure that all that is identified well ahead of time when you're building the recommendation system. So when you're trying to recommend a specific product for a customer once they've made a purchase, or even before they've made a purchase directly on the site, if it's a logged in user, you need to know what that should be. What should be the logic for surfacing that particular product or a set of products in that particular carousel, or even after the purchase. So that logic has to be solid. What features you are doing it on, ensure that all those features have values in them. If not, you're actually, extrapolating it with some other value which is common across the board. So ensuring a very sound ML modeling capability on that particular recommendation engine that you have in place for any specific carousel, and ensure that it is tested properly, and you also have like A/B testing with the users to get some feedback. So you have some 10% of the users who could just be internal users, and then you can surface that it up to them and then get feedback from them if they're seeing the relevant products or not. And if they are, then you will see the customer engagement increase, you will see average order value increase, you will see number of transactions that are increased. So based on all that tagging data that you collect as the customer is navigating through the site, and figure out, if it's heading in the right direction. That's also a key in determining whether your ML model is actually trained to do the right stuff. And at the same time, you also have an evaluation framework built in where you're actually checking if it is giving the right results within that threshold value that you have defined, based on feedback loop, right? Certain product orders placed, the customer has navigated this, these are the features that were used. Then you come back and see, okay, is it performing within that range that you've specified for that model? That continuous loop doesn't stop. So that helps improve your model too.
Okay. I'm going to look at shopping online differently today because now I'm like recommendation. They got me.
Yeah, it's a recommendation on the personalization system. That's right.
Yeah. So failure is inevitable part of innovation. Can
Uh-huh.
you share a major technical or strategic setback from your career and the specific leadership lesson you extracted from it?
Yeah, so when you are delivering things at a rapid scale while leveraging latest and the greatest in the technology, failure is a part of it. So you have to accept that, and also project it, and kind of bring it up to the table and discuss it at varied levels. So when I was working on a specific project, at one of the companies, and there was an issue where I was not getting the result as I should. At that point in time, I went and communicated upwards. I communicated to sideways as well to get feedback. And the key learning is, it's you're never alone in the whole thing. You always have the feedback loop built in within the org, externally if you have to, right? But
Mhm.
internally, generally, you get enough feedback so you can address it, fix it, and get a direction from it. And that's why we have this handoff mechanism also built into the system, where you have the offshore onshore model where you're actually giving it to them. So yeah, in general, proactive communication is the key. When you're a leader, you have to communicate it proactively, saying that yes, I see this not performing as it should. I may need 5 more days to deliver this. This will be delayed by 2 sprints or 2 weeks or whatever it might be. That is the key, and that's the key learning that I gained from my experience thus far as a leader. Initially, when you start off, that's where I see a gap comes in with many, and you kind of you need to have the right people guiding you to do that as well. So that's a key learning. And yeah, that's what I would I always communicate to my team, saying be very proactive, but at the same time, it's okay to fail fast, but fail early so that you learn and move ahead.
Yeah, totally agree. So, in an era of rapid disruption,
Mhm.
how do you systematically filter the noise to stay ahead of the curve and ensure your organization tech stack remains future proof?
Yeah. So thing is, a leader is has to always keep on top of things that are happening outside, and you have to get your hands dirty, keep learning, because otherwise you can't guide your team, and that's what keeps you ahead of the curve as well. Of course, there are certain members of your team that you need to identify as well who enjoy doing that, right? It's their passion. Some people like it. They like to delve deep in and keep learning new stuff. So leverage them as well, because it's a group effort in the end. And you kind of learn from them, you kind of also read up on it and then make a sound and decision while getting feedback from the team on the best direction to proceed further. And that always keeps you ahead no matter what. So it's constant learning. Learning cannot stop at any point when you're a leader because you are actually guiding a team. At the same time, figuring out who it is that can help you along the way as well to be on the right track and ensuring you always have that mechanism built in where you're getting that feedback loop, and be it your peers, be it subordinates, be open to everything. We have an open mind. That's what I would say.
Yeah, I totally agree. Because like having an open mind keeps you on your toes,
Yeah.
right? So like something new happened and you're like, oh, okay. So how do I integrate that? you know? So
Exactly.
how do I learn from this? How do I learn from what they just told me about something new,
Yeah.
right? Whatever new is. Like if you were so close-minded, um the technology, let's say AI, you would be like, oh no, I don't want to use AI because, uh I I think that's my way is the best way.
Yeah.
Then not only you are now not developing, you are now also hurting your teammates, your
Yes.
team, right? Because they're not learning, they're not utilizing the AI, they're not using the next big thing that everybody talks about. So they're like more enclosed in that way.
That's right. At times you have to nudge them as well in that direction and say, okay, I've used this and this works fine with this, so why don't you go ahead and try it? So that also helps.
Yeah. So outside of the enterprise tech landscape, what is one emerging technology you are personally obsessed with right now?
I am personally obsessed with, I would say, how these AI apps will scale. Is outside of it. I mean, like we are all developing all this. How is scaling happening when going live? How are we ensuring that the governance is in place? How are we ensuring that we are you know, and within that token limit, not using surplus of, the power and everything else that is a problem right now where people are trying to solve by going putting data centers in space so that, you have that sunlight and you can harness that power. So, so that's where I think there's a lot of learning to happen still. And yeah, and I keep looking for opportunities. Varied companies actually come up with potential solutioning that they are putting in place for all this, and those are all, learning points for you as well, because they come and talk about what they are facing, how they are heading in that direction, even to keep things sustainable. How are they doing it? And how it's happening in other countries as opposed to here. That's also a key learning. Europe is like big on governance. They will not let anything go without just proper governance in place. Those are things that we have to learn. And what I hear is in Asia, it's all rapid adoption. So, there are learnings from every place. So that's something that you have to keep an eye out for always. And this is not just technology, it's basically adoption, it's governance, it's ensuring everything happens within the guardrails that you have put in place and how others are doing it. So that's the key. And even if it has to mean even if it means to mix and match things, like maybe you're a Microsoft shop but you want to use this from Google, be open to that as well.
Yeah, definitely. Because being like earlier I said, like being open-minded, that's another way to being open-minded, right? Like to
Yeah.
learn from like different countries or different regions of how they're doing it and how can we adopt that, and not just like, oh, let's adopt rapid scaling and do everything like China, or be super strict and do everything like Europe, but
Yeah.
maybe just be like a balance of the two, right? Because
Yeah.
it's like, okay, we can scale fast, but let's put some guardrails,
Yeah.
right?
A middle ground always, and that's what you get from following everything everywhere, right? So
Yeah.
you kind of have to keep your eyes open and
Yeah,
absorb what is needed. Yeah.
yeah, definitely. So leaders are defined by their guardrails.
Mhm.
What is the one core leadership principle that you will absolutely never compromise on, no matter how high the stakes are?
So core values. That's something that I'll always stick to. I'll have my core values as my guardrails, and I'll perform or communicate within that. and not go beyond it. So even if things are not going in the right direction, it's always good to project the right thing because you can come out of it successful at the other on the other end, right? It may delay, but as opposed to projecting it incorrectly, then you're kind of breaking your own foot literally, right? So you don't want to do that. So those core values is the crux for it. I mean, if people don't have integrity in core values, then don't even proceed ahead. I think Warren Buffett also says the same thing. So I think that's absolutely the key, no matter whether it's AI, no AI, whatever it might be.
Yeah. Well, Monisha, I thank you so much for coming on. I learned a lot about, different types of apps and their carts and like how will I think about shopping online now. So thank you.
No
Uh,
problem. It was my pleasure.
I much appreciate your time. And to the Wise crew, thank you for joining me and Monisha on this episode. And I will see you guys next time.
Thank you
Bye.
so much. Bye bye.